Hey, hello everybody. It's Dirk again. How's everybody been? I hope things are going well for you. I am sitting here in beautiful Sterling, Illinois, Walmart distribution center. I'm waiting for my first load of the day, and is what is a somewhat common thing in the trucking industry. Sometimes these warehouses get a little bit backed up. They got people calling off sick and all that good stuff. So, yeah, we're a little delayed today, so I might be waiting around for a bit, but goes with the territory. That welcome to trucking. If you're not prepared to hurry up and wait, you probably should pick another business. Anyway, yeah, it's been a while since I did a video. The reasons for that are, number one, that I've just been super busy. And the other reason, I actually got a call from somebody from Schneider, who happens to be a terrific guy, and we had a nice long conversation about many things. But one of the things that he brought to my attention is that from a company standpoint, they're a little bit worried about making videos of trucks in motion. And having, I guess it falls under their electronic device policy. So Schneider has a very strict policy about any electronic devices in their trucks. While the truck is moving, for an example, the biggest one is the cell phone use. You see a lot of truckers, if you go to any truck stop or anywhere where truck drivers congregate, you'll see the guys walking around with the headsets on, so obviously when you're on the road, the only way that you can stay connected to your loved ones and your friends and your family are it's by phone. So cell phones are a pretty big deal, because it keeps you, as a driver, it keeps you connected to your world, to your world outside of the truck, to your life, to your people. To your spouse, significant other, whatever. But what is often the case with very big companies especially, is that all it takes is one major lawsuit, and unfortunately, the bigger the company, the bigger the target as far as lawyers are concerned, which don't even get me started on that subject. Lawyers, I don't mean to throw them all under the bus. There are very good people who are attorneys, and I happen to be friends with several of them. So I'm not indicting the industry as a whole or anybody who's in it, because there's an upside to lawyers as well. I've had to use their services a few times in my life, and they've proven invaluable. So, like everything else in life, there's an up and a downside. However, with our legal system in the United States, there's this little thing called tort reform. And depending on who you talk to, if you talk to a personal injury attorney, they're going to tell you how horrible the idea is, because of course it limits how much money they can make. Of course it's horrible to them. But to most non-personal injury lawyers, tort reform is something that is needed, at least in my opinion. And what that is, if you don't know what tort reform is, you can Google it and find out. But essentially, it is trying to limit the amount of damages that are awarded to people in injury lawsuits. So, like the really famous one was that McDonald's hot coffee lawsuit. And maybe I'm dating myself because this is going back several years now. So, if you're younger, you might not know about this one. But apparently, the story goes that an elderly lady went through a drive-through, got some hot coffee. She ended up dropping the cup and spilling it on herself and burning herself pretty severely, pretty horribly. Her attorneys went after McDonald's because the coffee was served too hot, and there was no warning of how high the temperature was. And that story actually is rather interesting, because this woman, became kind of a pariah, and people, used her as an example of frivolous lawsuits, and how she spilled a little hot coffee on herself, and sued McDonald's for millions and millions and millions of dollars. Well, eventually all that bullshit subsided and the truth came out. And the truth was, she did really get a severe injuries from that coffee, and the coffee was way too hot. They didn't need to have it that hot, and consequently now they've turned that temperature down, and also of course labeled all of their cups, warning, 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 it's hot, 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 and all that good stuff. So, but the point is, that one incident really brought tort reform to the mainstream, and it became a public discussion. How much is enough when somebody gets injured? And back to my original point, I didn't mean to go off the legal deep end. What happens with huge companies is that, like I said, they become a bigger target, especially when the lawyers get involved, because any lawyer knows that if it's a huge company, they are more inclined to do a huge settlement to keep it out of court. And if you do go to court and win, you can get a huge award for damages. More so than a smaller company that just doesn't have the means. You'll just basically put them out of business and you'll never get your money. Even if you get, sue a mid-sized company for millions and millions and millions of dollars, they'll just go out of business and you're screwed. You won't get a penny. But with the big corporations, not the case. So I get it with Schneider. I get it why, they ban cell phone and electronic use in their trucks. I'm sure it was because of at least one, if not more, lawsuits where there was some sort of an accident and where the defense lawyers were able to, whether manipulate and bullshit their way, or if they had a legitimate case, they were able to prove that, well, that cell phone use was a distraction, and therefore that driver and therefore Schneider is liable for damages. So of course, anytime you have restrictions by a big company, it's because of lawsuits or fear of lawsuits. So I get it. I understand it. And with legal stuff, sometimes it's not a matter of right or wrong or yes or no or black and white. A lot of times it's a matter of a term, what they call optics. And optics are basically an impression. What impression does something give? And specifically in legal terms, what impression might that make with a jury? And how might a good attorney or a good team of attorneys be able to use those optics and make their case and be able to manipulate and twist the story that they want to lay out, the truth as they say it happened. How does it help or hurt them doing that? So, in the case of using a cell phone, for an example, I personally, do I think it's a distraction? Yeah, maybe. I don't think so that much, but it's not for me to decide. So, but in the case of optics, if you get a really good attorney or team of attorneys, and they can prove that, hey, that driver was on the cell phone when this accident occurred, and hey, that driver was absolutely distracted by that conversation, and we have, they can turn it into a whole big mess and make the company lose a lawsuit, and also the driver. So it's not just protecting the company, it's also protecting the drivers, because drivers can actually get sued personally as well. So, in other words, I get it, I understand it. Don't have to agree with it, don't have to disagree with it. It just is the rule of the company, and you have to follow it. So that's fine. So where Schneider is concerned, they made it kind of a blanket policy, which I personally don't like. I don't agree with it. But again, I work for them. It's their policy. I abide by it. And they use the term electronic device. Well, electronic device does also include cameras. Now, I do have a video on my channel, if you haven't seen it, where I explain the cameras that I use and how I use them. And everything that I do or have done as far as using video in this truck I have done so without having to touch a camera while driving, without having to look at a camera while driving, without having to manipulate in any way a camera while driving. When this truck is moving, I am paying zero attention to anything camera related. So therefore, it's absolutely no distraction whatsoever. Okay, great, but it's still an electronic device. So that's the end of that. So anything with the truck in motion, so long as I work for Schneider, I cannot do it. And I feel bad about that because I really think there's a lot of really cool stuff to share, and a lot of cool stuff that could actually benefit Schneider. There are a lot of people, and I was one of them, who are interested in this job, in this career, who don't have any experience and have no idea what it's like. And short of getting in a truck with a friend or somebody to experience it, which is for most people impossible. They don't know anybody, and the people that they know, what are they going to go on, on a 3-week journey with them? And probably not. People don't have that kind of time. They have to work. So, the YouTube platform really is a useful one, and not only does it help people who are potentially looking at this industry to see a little bit what it's like, but quite frankly, it also helps the companies. I use one example. If you look at any trucking videos on YouTube, you'll see a whole bunch of truck drivers with YouTube channels working for Prime Inc. Prime Inc. is a reefer hauler, and they're out of Springfield, Missouri. They're a very big carrier. So they are a big fish, so to speak, and they seem to almost encourage their drivers to do video stuff. And to me, it's rather obvious that it's a massive recruiting tool for them. I see it in the comments section of many of their drivers that I follow, where people will comment, hey, I've called Prime and I want to go, and what's your driver's number so I can give you a referral? And I see it all the time. I mean, they get referral after referral after referral of people wanting to come in and they join Prime. And why? Because they're watching their videos. So on the one hand, I get Schneider's point. I certainly do understand it, and it is a valid point for sure, about liability and optics. I get that. However, as with all things in life, you cannot operate from a standpoint of fear. I'm a firm believer in that. You cannot operate being fearful of everything and everybody and be as successful as your potential has laid out for you. If you start operating from a standpoint of fear as your priority, you end up costing yourself and shooting yourself in the foot. That's my firm belief. So, okay, I understand. We're scared of being sued. Great. All right. Well, because of that, you are staying out of the 21st century. You're remaining in the Stone Ages, and your reluctance to change and move with the times means that there are literally thousands of people going to companies like Prime that could be going to Schneider, but the reason that they're not going to Schneider is because they have no idea, that it doesn't even enter their brain to, hey, what about Schneider? You're not on the radar. You're not on the radar because you have zero social media presence. Social media for all companies in every industry is a major big deal. More so than any other thing, actually. There is a reason why other companies spend huge amounts of money on social media, to get on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on all of these different platforms. It's because that's where the people are. Schneider kind of reminds me of like a whole bunch of people that are waiting for retirement. I don't know if that's true. I doubt it, but I'm just saying from an impression standpoint, how they operate corporately. It seems to me, and this is my own opinion, that it is kind of one of these deals that I've experienced before, as I've worked for some very big companies. And there was one airline in particular that I worked for that was very much this way, that there's kind of an old guard there. And the old guard is of the mindset that, hey, we've always done it this way. Why should we change? This works. Yeah, okay. In the meantime, your company goes down and down and down and down and loses market share, loses market position, and it eventually is surpassed by everybody that is going with the times. And I fear that's where Schneider is, and that's where they're heading. It's a legitimate fear, and I think it would be a damn shame, because they're an amazing company, and they've done amazing things, and they have an incredible network, and they have incredible people working for them. But I think they've got, I guess, what I would call analysis paralysis. They are so analytical that they turn themselves into an organization that operates from a standpoint of fear, and the comfort of being protected by everything. Well, that's great. Enjoy your comfort while you go out of business. So my own opinion, again, it's my opinion, my personal opinion, I think Schneider would be much better served if, yes, okay, I get it, a cell phone policy, I get it. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, because here's the deal. Let's say you do get sued. Let's say people are using cell phones, and let's say you do get sued, 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year. Big expense, absolutely. Potential big liability, absolutely. But how many drivers do you lose? Or how many drivers do you never even get a chance to get? Because they know that if they sign on with Schneider, they will never be able to speak with their loved ones. Because let's face it, when you're a truck driver, when the truck is moving, is almost the only time you have to communicate with people in your life. Because once the truck stops, you are working most of the time. When the truck stops, you are either at a shipper or a receiver, or doing something with a trailer swap, or doing a drop and hook, or doing a pre-trip or post-trip inspection, or doing, fueling, whatever the case. Your personal free time, when you're not driving, and when you're not doing on-duty, not driving activities, which there are a lot of, much more so than you would ever imagine if you're not a driver. When you're not doing these things, the rest of your time is spent with basic necessities of life. Eating, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, and sleeping. Yes, we need to get sleep. So, how much time, Schneider's position is that a driver should have enough time in their daily life to be able to speak to their loved ones at a time when they're not driving. In a perfect world, sure, seems logical. In reality, bullshit. We don't have the time. We run. If you are doing your job the way you're supposed to, if you're doing your job in order to make enough money to survive, you are either asleep, taking a shower, eating, taking a crap, or you're working. Reality, that's just how it is. That doesn't bother me, that's fine. I like being busy. But if I'm driving down an interstate highway and there's no traffic whatsoever, and it's just basically autopilot cruise control, just pay attention to the road in front of you and pay attention to your mirrors, which is something you instinctively do as a driver, no matter what. I don't see the harm in chatting with my sister and catching up, or chatting with my 87-year-old mother. I don't understand where that's a distraction. And now, flip side, if I'm now on that interstate and I'm heading into a major city, and the traffic is starting to get busy and complicated, and there is a lot going on, well, common sense should kick in at that point as being a responsible driver. And then just don't do phone calls at that point. I would never ever consider it. If I'm in a situation where I really have to pay attention, you think I'm going to get on the phone? No? Are you nuts? Common sense. And anyway, I think instead of treating us like children, maybe consider the fact that some of us are grown adults and we have common sense and we know what to do and what not to do. But hey, whatever. So that's the cell phone thing. But again, like I said, I at least get it. I understand it. Where the cameras are concerned, I don't get that at all. I really don't. Now, it is a policy of the company. It is a policy that in my discussion with this person, I told them, I gave them my word that I will, of course, abide by the company's policy, which I will. I have no problem doing that. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't have a problem doing it, but I do have a problem with it. I think the idea of not safely, 100% safely, and in a non-distracted manner, not videotaping the experiences of driving this truck and putting it out there for folks to see. I think that is costing Schneider far more than it could ever potentially cost them. I really do. And I don't think anybody could convince me otherwise. And again, the reason being is that I see it on YouTube. I see it. The amount of referrals that these videos can generate for the company, they don't understand it. They really don't. I don't think corporately, I don't think they have a clue as to the power of social media. And it's a shame. And I think they are really missing an opportunity. Now, my channel is tiny. It will probably always be tiny. So I'm not sitting here thinking that I'm some big YouTube superstar. Believe me, I'm not. Nor do I care to be. But I also know that with YouTube, things can blow up. Out of nowhere, one of your videos might just somehow get pushed out by YouTube's algorithms, and suddenly, instead of 10 people seeing it, 2 million people are seeing it. That can happen. It does happen. There's one driver in particular that I follow who had a video about, he's driving along and he's talking about when he was a driver trainer, he had to kick a trainee off his truck because the guy was a psychopath. A very entertaining video, and the story, the way he told it, he's a great storyteller. So it ended up going viral. And this guy's channel, when I started following him, I think he had something like 2,000 subscribers, something like that. And by the end of the week, he had 2-point-something gazillion. I mean, it was ridiculous. He had like 30,000 new viewers like overnight. That particular video has been viewed, I want to say like 2, 3, 4 million times, something like that. So that's a hell of a lot of reach. And that's, and again, I'm not saying that anything I ever produce will do that. Chances are very slim that that would ever happen. But that said, there are people, myself included, I remember, I went on YouTube and I typed in the search, Schneider driver. I wanted to see, okay, what about Schneider? Guess who I found? 0. I found 0 people that were Schneider drivers. Actually, I take that back. I finally found one driver who's a Schneider driver on the West Coast. And I started watching his videos. I still do watch his videos. Great guy. And I ended up giving him a referral when I joined. So he got the referral credit for me. But that was it. Just one driver. One. Schneider's how big of a company? Schneider's one of the top companies in the country. They're one of the largest trucking companies in the United States. And they've got literally 0 social media presence. Now, tell me again, risk reward. Let's weigh this. The chances of my doing videos for Schneider for their benefit, the chances of something bad coming from that versus the upside potential in recruiting. You tell me. I don't know. Seems like a no-brainer to me. But hey, I'm not stuck in the Stone Ages. So anyway, that's my video for today. As far as videos going forward, I have no idea what I'm going to do. Probably most of them are going to be like this, just me talking, putting whatever thoughts I have out there. And again, all of this is just my personal thoughts. None of it is the policy or whatever. None of it has anything to do with Schneider other than me speaking about them from my experience. This is just my personal thing. So, but I did want to let you guys know, if you were expecting more driving videos, I unfortunately cannot do those, and I wanted to let you know why. So that's it for now. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll check in again soon as I can. See ya.